Yeah, so my basic field of expertise is I do public relations for sustainably minded and social good companies. So pretty much my entire career I've been in fashion PR, and I think I originally became interested in the environmental and sustainability component of it when I was living in Los Angeles. So I had gone to college there and I started working for a PR agency there in Los Angeles, and the founder of the agency wanted to start an eco-conscious division. So I helped launch that, and then I moved to Montreal after that, and from there I had started thinking about starting my own business, and my business is called the Vanguard PR, and we specialize in working with sustainable fashion, beauty, lifestyle, and a lot of so in the fashion industry in general, it's really one of the most polluting industries that there is. The use of water, there's a number of different things that I think we really face as a challenge in terms of sustainability and the environment. So there definitely needs to be more strict laws put into place, child labor, paying fair wages, sourcing locally. As designers, and those are the majority of my clients are fashion designers, and a lot of them, 100% of them are sustainable designers, and what that means to them is different according to their own ethos and kind of ethics. But I think in general, fashion and sustainability, it's just really difficult for designers to make a profit, to use locally sourced goods, materials, fabrics. It's really difficult for them, especially as a younger designer starting off and trying to get their own foot in the door. So it's difficult for them to be a sustainable designer and make a profit. And with that, and not becoming a huge well-known designer yet, is how do they make people aware of their brand and educating the consumer on why they are spending more money for something that's locally sourced, sustainably produced. Yeah, so as an agency, we have a very select criteria when it comes to clients. And when it comes to ethical and sustainably minded clients, so we don't just use that as a buzzword. We really stick to criteria that they have to be locally sourcing their fabrics or materials. They also have to have some sort of social good or give back component to them that's super important. And then their fabrics in some way have to be organic or sustainable, no matter if they're using cotton or hemp or jersey or whatever it may be. So, it's kind of a difficult thing in terms of the PR agency, because I feel like some agencies in the media, greenwashing and all of that has become kind of a buzzword, I think, over the past 8 years. And for us, it's not about how can we market our clients to show the consumer or show the media that they're kind of sustainable. Ingrained in the ethos of these companies that we work with from the beginning is a sustainability component to it. So it makes it very easy for us to be able to talk about what they're doing to help the environment. What's working in the fashion industry is that consumers are becoming more aware. They're becoming more educated, and I think that's really the key thing in terms of sustainability and any sort of social movement is once you have a community that's like-minded and aware, it's really taking that first step and being able to educate that consumer as to why they are paying for something that's a bit more expensive, whether it's the quality of the goods or whatever it may be. So I think being able to kind of take off that veil, the fashion industry as a whole has been, pretty tight-lipped in terms of where they do production or where they source material or whatever it may be, especially the bigger name designers. And I think now to be able to kind of take that veil off and to be very transparent with the consumer allows them to make a more educated and informed decision. I think one of the most limiting factors when it comes to creating awareness for the types of sustainably minded companies that we work with is really education. That's really what it all goes back to. And we believe that we hand select a very unique roster of clients, and for us to be able to create an ethical, sound message for a client like that is one of the most important things. But then again, you have so many people living in different areas of the country or different areas of the world that caring for the environment isn't necessarily something that they are going to care about. So how do we get those people attached to that message? I think that one of the most important things to get consumers on board is that you have to kind of create an incentive for them to purchase something, essentially. And that goes back to transparency and brand ethos. Is how can you be transparent with the consumer? How can you be transparent with your customer to show them the value in the product or service that you're marketing in the media? And one of the most profound things that I've done over the past 3 years is really become very educated in documentary films. One of my favorite films is 180 Degrees South, which is essentially the story about Patagonia and North Face. And those are two brands in my eyes that are just totally stick to what they began as and have carried that mission, have carried that ethos, and have been able to market their brand in a very non-traditional way. How they've achieved such success and been able to hugely impact the environment through a variety of different ways. Now, the more and more awareness that's spread about Patagonia, be it through the films that they produce or whatever, they're really able to reach out to a vast demographic and again to educate them on their mission, their values, what they're doing, and in turn change people's perception as to how they can vote with their own dollar and how the fashion industry is it's not all horrible. There's companies out there doing a lot of good, and I think Patagonia does a really amazing job of highlighting ambassadors that are really doing great things with Patagonia and with the environment. And I think Sylvia Earle is another person that, she's not necessarily in the fashion industry, but I think she's an incredible person. She's an incredible activist, environmentalist, and she has really moved mountains in terms of the education of the environment, of the oceans, and really created a huge change in terms of that. Like my generation of those within their early 30s, to me, is the generation that's really creating a conscious change. We're going out there, we're seeking out information, we have more information available to us as well, and we have more accessibility to sustainable fashion. We have more accessibility to certified organic produce, and we want more information. We're very curious, I think, our generation in general. I can't, at the end of the day, sit down at my desk without seeing a new environmental problem and being inspired to somehow change or being inspired to somehow tell someone about that. And I think that one of the biggest problems that we probably face actually in my generation and the generations that are coming up, the younger generations, is that technology to me is kind of a double-edged sword. It gives us access to more information, but I think that awareness is all about building a community as well. And sometimes I find that with technology, it's very easy to become disconnected from each other. So that's one challenge I see, is how can we really use technology in our favor to bring together more communities, to not create such barriers between different countries or whatever it may be. I think, how can we use technology to impact from a social good standpoint, to impact in a more positive way versus a more disconnected way? My 3 wishes are all about connection. So my first wish was connecting with yourself, which is connecting with your purpose. My second wish is that people don't lose their connection to nature. So no matter where you are in the world, pretty much you can look up at a sky and see it. You can see some sort of green. And I think that if people are able to connect with nature, really you revere what you respect, rather. My third wish has to do with respecting the connection with each other. So again, you're walking along the street or the sidewalk. All it really takes is a simple smile to another person. You never know in your day what someone's going through, what kind of struggle someone has in their life. And going back to technology, being able to set that aside and to connect with other people, I think in general that will just enable us to establish greater communities within cities, will enable us to respect the environment and incorporate environmental practices into our daily lives, and to really just come together as a community to educate and to inspire others.